Hello, welcome to this week's edition of the Litter Box. Here I am joined by Seafreeze, as always, and Tommaso and Silent, who were protagonists in an electric race in China. Round one was marred by some controversy, which I'm sure we'll get into depth uh, with. And until then, how are you guys doing?
Doing pretty well.
Doing good. Doing good.
It's all right. Yeah.
It should be noted um, that the battle for first was incredibly tight all the way through. Um, go-to guy, the defending champion, of course, he was pretty much within a second of Sean the entire race, and unlike the usual Sean, he did not falter. Sean held him off quite well. Seafreeze, you know these guys better than anyone.
Right? I do. I raced with them in season 5, and I was surprised with Sean's pace wasn't where it really usually is. I think he didn't try to do too much. He just did what he had to do to keep go-to behind, and he didn't make any mistakes, which is not like him. He usually does make some mistakes here and there, but I think it was very controlled, a different driver from last season and the previous, and it was just what he needed to do. I mean, he was second. He overtook go-to at the beginning. It was really just from there, he just controlled the race.
What I found really fascinating was, I mean, Destiny and Silent didn't get the memo that it was going to start under on wets or in wet, and um, aside from that, literally everyone qualified within a second of each other, 1 through 19. Silent, you were up there. Damaso, you were really high up there. Uh, how would you guys describe your races from your own point of view?
I'd actually say that my start, like the wet half of the race, was certainly a little disappointing. I thought I could have done a lot better than that. My qualifying, I was a little disappointed with. I was expecting to be at least closer to top 5, um, especially considering my practice times. But the second half of the race, I'm pretty happy with because considering with what I was in, the position I was in, I still made it happen. I still, I guess, got 6th or 7th or something like that. So I was happy with the finish.
No, I
Yeah,
thought
during that wet period, I was right behind you, Silent, and you were just. It seemed like you were doing a little too much. Like I was not trying at all. I felt slow, and you were just making mistakes left and right, and I just squeezed through. And then ZX and you just kept battling, so I kept going forward and just tried to get away from you guys. But yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't adapt. I guess for the first race of the season, I just couldn't adapt to the wet race. It was a little weird, but you live in.
I mean, Damaso had probably uh, the least stressful race out of anyone. You finished
Mm,
a really
yeah.
solid P5 on your debut. Um, nothing to complain about. I mean, it could have been better. I understand, but you avoided pretty much all the mayhem that happened behind you.
Yeah, especially on the start on turn one, I was really, really close to hitting the Mercedes that spun. It was an okay race, I guess. My place on the Inters was okay. Surprised to have qualified on 5th because I've always struggled on the qualifying, so it's that I've made some progress, but there's still a lot of fast people here, so I need to get used to that.
Yeah, it was a tight grid. I mean, all throughout, from first to 19th was 1.9 seconds, which is could have been even closer if the two Palunkas in the back went on the ultras. It would have been a little closer. But hey, when I talked with you before the race, Tommaso, you said I'd be happy if I get a top 5 tonight. And I'm like, no, there's no way Damaso's getting top 5. I'm like, there's no way. He's gonna have to beat, me, Talon, everybody. And you went out and you got a top 5, and you're sitting, yeah, I mean, it was okay. That was a great. I mean, I would be in your position any day. Any day, I'd be in your position.
Yeah, it could have been 4, but I had a really good battle with Iroh.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'm happy in a way, but I'm also not that happy because place we could have been first on the constructors, but at the moment, but Silent said you didn't learn, but happy with the result I got, to be honest.
Yeah, you and Breezy, right? And the Red Bulls. Breezy had another good race. He started,
He
I
did.
think he started even behind me, which I qualified, I think, 10. I think he
He
might have
started
started,
11.
Yeah, Breezy started.
yeah, 11, yeah, and he blew past me on the outside, and he got third for his
Yeah, I
debut.
mean, Breezy had a really lonely race too, but it must be said he was quite impressive in the
Yeah.
wet, and then in the dry. I mean, he made most of it. He made pretty much all of his moves in the wet, and once it got to dry tires, he was pretty much by himself. I mean, Sean and Goku had already separated themselves.
I do think he has a pace to be like fighting for wins. So.
Oh, definitely.
Well, so that's why he had to come back. But he's usually, I think he's gonna be always qualifying on the top 3, top 4.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of surprising that he only qualified P11. I would have expected. I mean, I rolled too was
Yeah.
qualified 12th, and they both kind of knifed their way through the field in the wet condition.
Well, Roll was runner-up last season, and it just shows with a lot of new additions to the Platinum class where everybody is. I mean, if you would have told me that Roll would have qualified 12th for the opening round, I would not have believed it at all. But I do think Breezy and Roll, they did fight their way back all the way, I think, third and fourth. And
Yeah.
they did really good job. But I think if Breezy can qualify within the top 5, mix it up with the go-to and Sean, and another, this goes to anybody really. I think there's other people that have the pace with Sean and go-to, but they just have to have that track position, because as soon as the green flag dropped, it was Sean and go-to. They just went. They didn't battle. They were just in line and they went. They didn't battle. They didn't waste time. Where everyone behind had to work their way up, and that's what lost them, and that's why the gap between second and fourth and so on was so big. But if they can qualify good, and this goes to anybody, they can take the fight, for the win.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely wide open this year. I think the field just in general is so much more talented than it has been in the past. Uh, so I mean, like obviously, like Coach Guy, he's the main man. But I mean, Sean, if he is more consistent, I believe he had the most goals last season. He obviously has the pace. Uh, Breezy has the pace. Roll has the pace. Tommaso just jumps in. He's qualifying, P5, finishing P5. Psycho had a great race. I mean, really after he spun in the first corner, came all the way back to pretty much dead last to sixth. And then even like Silent and ZX uh, also had really good races. So, um, I mean, everything's up for grabs this year. It's definitely shaping up to be uh, quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think the rain at the beginning of the race kind of separated the field as well. I think maybe next week in Japan, if it's dry and it starts off dry, I think um, the field would be even closer, and that goes for the future. I think the rain, separates things, but I think it could be even closer, and the qualifyings between first and last would probably be even closer than the 1.9 on certain tracks.
Right, and I mean, we do have to address the elephant in the room. Seafreeze as the chief steward. We have to talk about the more dramatic parts of round 1, season 7, TCR Platinum class. Kev Berge went on a bit of a, how do you say it? He was a heat-seeking
He's
throughout
okay.
most of the race. Silent, I know you, and you and Seafreeze both experienced some of that.
And even
Yeah.
Damaso got past
And
Bergie as well.
I had no troubles. I mean, it was
No.
it was hard racing, but fair. Then I saw the replays, and then I saw all the chaos that happened after.
Uh, Silent, he called you out mano a mano prior to the race, and that happened.
So,
Probably,
sorry.
you,
Can you
you
say that
probably,
again?
I was just saying he called you out prior to the race and after the race. Um, you have the most reason to well, you're Canadian, so you're probably gonna be nice, but but, but you have the most reason to kind of be not necessarily upset. The past is the past, but you could be angry.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I could be angry, but at the end of the day, I'm the one still in the league, right? So, um,
Oh.
it just seems
Uh,
well.
Breaking news alert.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's totally it's clear. It's clear now.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, no one's gonna.
it was I'll just say this about Kebri. I think he is very quick. He's a great driver when he wants to be. He's quick when he wants to be, and he can be clean when he wants to be. I think he has everything there on the table for him to be a good driver, but when he does make a mistake, when he does perform out of line, he does not own up to his mistakes, and he does not take responsibility. And that's what lied after the race. His actions during the race and even after. The actions he had during the race could have been forgotten if he just said, "I'm sorry, that my mistake." But because of that and how he responded off track was not acceptable, and it won't be. I think we have a good group of guys all up and down the field, and I think we have some of the best North American drivers out there. And on PC, PC. Where are we on PC? PS4. PS4. And I think if we just all learn, if I do make a mistake, if somebody else makes a mistake, and there's a racing incident or something happens, there's better ways to resolve things. Because honestly, things could be avoided, and things could be better. Obviously, if me and Silent are in a wreck, let's say we did get in a wreck at China, I still have to race at him for the next 14 races. I'm gonna say something nice to him, even if I don't mean it, just so we can prevent anything to happen in the next 14 races. So you have to respect one another, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, Silent. Left is the woe foot. Right is the go foot. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Um, no, but I mean, aside from that, I mean, that was obviously outside of Sean and go to. I mean, it was a fantastic race to commentate. Um, I I think I mean the mid pack action all the way through, and a lot of that was part of Kepri, which is why I brought it up so early.
Yeah.
Was because of him. I mean, there were a lot of different moves. Obviously, you had Psycho, Silent, CX cutting their way through the field the entire, and it really provided for triple action. Um, and I feel bad for Gijo Breezy. We really didn't give him any time. I mean, he was pretty much all alone in the place,
Yeah.
after the first couple laps. But Gijo Breezy, if you're listening to this, well done.
He did a great job. Great
Yeah,
debut.
great. I would too. But yeah, I mean, piggybacking off that point, Silent, you had one of the most optimistic of the race. Uh, after Seafreeze and Cap got into a little bit of a scrum, you launched up the inside in turn one, which I honestly would have probably done the same. Seafreeze, how do you feel about that move? Because I think it was quite clean. There was no, I mean, there was no action taken. No, there wasn't even any need to have action. But Selleck uh, really put his balls on the ball
You talking about when it was me, Bergie, and Silent in the first corner?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it happened. I was probably the thing is I broke my wing on Bergie on I think it was like lap 24, 23, and I looked back at it, and it seemed like he braked a little early, but it was still my fault at the end of it. But it was just based off, what put me in that position was that first mistake. And, me, Roll, and Damaso, we were all trying to overtake each other and pull away from each other. And we had to break the latest and get the most out of the lap time and everything. So I was just kind of in a rhythm. And then here comes Bergie, kind of in our way, in a sense. But it was my fault. And that's what put me in that position. But with that broken wing, but yeah, I mean, it happened. I mean, I don't think I would have held off Silent and Psycho and ZX.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I brought that up because I thought that was probably the move of the race, just in terms of going all out.
Yeah, I mean, going into I think I entered the corner. It was just me, no one there. But then I think through mid corner, Silent and Kev carried more momentum, trying to overtake each other. And I think it was Kev on the right of me just bumped me because they were going three wide. I actually didn't even see that, so I just got hit. That's all I heard or saw. I couldn't really see much out of there, so I mean, it was all right.
I just think you were like at the wrong time.
Yeah, I would have to. I'd agree with Damaso and disagree with Freeze. Actually, I think at the end of the day, like when you're three wide on that particular corner, the person on the outside is always going to be screwed. Um, Obviously, if I initiated anything and I didn't take it as clean as I thought, then I apologize. But and yeah, if it is, because it does look sketchy on the video, and that I will admit. But I personally, from my feed, I do think it was a clean move. But if it wasn't, then yeah, I apologize, bud.
Yeah.
I mean, in the words of Larry and Tyser, I mean, sometimes you just gotta send, and that's just what you gotta do. So I definitely, I don't think there's any ill will for the tournament actually, but it was an interesting crux of the race where I think that's where Kev got.
I
Yeah,
mean, it was a lot of things changed very quickly in that race. I mean, it was towards the end of it. It was battles all over the place,
I mean,
and that
it was
midfield was
everything.
like jumbled up to no extent. I mean, and if you look at Talon, he's my teammate, so I got to talk a little bit about him. But he's the one who pulled a Hamilton going into the pit lane, which actually put me into position to fight Roland and Damaso, because we would have double stacked that lap and I would have lost more time and I would have been farther back. And that would have been Talon in that battle, not me. But yeah, so I got to thank him a little bit for messing it up to put me in that position. But then at the end of the day, it really didn't matter. But yeah, and then he would have been in there as well. In the midfield and other people too. I mean, it's just going to be, I think, like I said, the rain spread us out a lot, but man, the the midfield is going to be packed. I think the front will be packed on certain races. I mean, certain tracks, it's going to be so close, the competition. I mean, the top 10 could be within half a second of each other, for sure.
Legitimately, I think any driver in platinum this year can win a race. If circumstances, go in their favor.
Yep.
And that's the exciting thing. I didn't feel that way last year, to be completely honest. But this year, we have just an absolute masterclass going on. And I know XP communicated to me the morning after the broadcast that he was extremely thrilled at the prospect of what could happen this year. I did want to talk about the promotees coming through from Golden last year. At the top of the list is Silent, Calgary's finest, of course.
Woo!
And ZX was actually right behind him. W, after penalties are assessed, ends up in the points as well. Swarner, I think, finished 14th, or no, 11th afterwards. I would honestly like to know like how you guys think that's going to play out. Not just this week, but in upcoming races, because ZX, I mean, in my opinion, had a incredible first lap. If you guys get a chance to see that, he looked like Senna at Donington in 1993. Kids, look that up. I think 19th to 10th on the first lap in the West.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty impressive, and any driver who knows how to drive in the wet, once you see that video, it's just like wow. There's just the skill and luck that was just put into those, like not even a minute, like literally half, like maybe 2 sectors. He's just up into 10th. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
It was great.
I mean, he had a great finish, and he started last, and that's another thing. Everyone was talking about ZX. He was last year's golden champion, but I'm like, I'm telling my teammate, I'm like, there's nothing great about him. He's 19th. What do you want? But he came back very, very good. Really surprised me when I see him right behind me. I'm like, what? I thought he started last, but he proved me wrong. He was doing good.
Well, as for a hot take, I think ZX is going to finish in the top 5 in the points. No pressure. But moving along, we will get to Golden Class and the Japanese preview. Did you guys watch the Golden Class race? Because I was participating.
I did watch it.
I did watch it.
And Silent was in it. He commentated it. Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
You guys want to give me a hug for finishing on the podium now, or?
No, I mean, it was all right. What I want to get to is who is it? Opus. Opus was in platinum last year, and he got the pole. I mean, he was demoted. He got the call quite late due to J-Lug's disconnection, but he got the pole.
I was 7/10 off of his time in the rain. Okay, jeez.
Yeah, Penguin, Opus the Penguin. But I think his tire temps and such kind of hurt him a little bit. But yeah. Who won it? Darkest won it. Yeah, I think it was kind of the race kind of came to him at the end of in Golden. He started more in the mid pack, I believe, and he just the race kind of just fell in his lap, and he got a win. And I don't think that was one of his best races. He didn't qualify good, and I'm sure he probably could have done better, but because other people lagged out or spun or whatever. But I think Darkest could do even more damage coming down throughout the season.
Yeah, that was a comprehensive review. Moving on to Japan. How do you guys?
Oh, can I say one thing about China real?
Yep.
I have to give a shout out to at least my driver of the day in Golden Class. It was Jones.
Jonesy.
Hands down, especially since we were talking about the three wide with Seafreeze, me, and Kev Berge. You had Jonesy. I forgot who he passed, but he did the exact same thing. He pretty much showed me how it was actually done on the exact same first corner, and he passed two people, and it looked beautiful. So that was the move of the day, and he is the driver of the day.
Hey, you know what, Silent? I think but Jones did it without no contact. You hear?
Yeah.
No contact on that one. But I will say, I'm glad you brought that up. Jones, what that might have been the the sweetest overtake I've seen in a long time. Like that was so good. And not only that, but then later in the race, you went side by side through the S's all throughout. I forget with who, but you went side by side with whoever it was, and really good stuff. Really good stuff. Great overtaking, and you had a bad qualifying too. I'm sure. Just like Darkus, I think if you qualify better, which I think two compounds, so that kind of different strategies and whatnot. But I think you can do more damage down the line. But to get third on the opening round with those kind of overtakes, whew, kitten, watch out.
I'd have to agree.
Tommaso, any thoughts on the Golden?
I actually think it was not about qualifying on Darkest and Jones, but the right strategy from the beginning. Because the ultra soft tire doesn't last more than 4 or 5 laps.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy who qualified on the softs, like ahead of all the ultras, all the ultra runners, essentially like in pole position. But
Oh,
I do,
who? Darkest?
but
Yeah,
I
that
do
could have
think
been. I'm not too sure on the qualifyings, but yeah, that probably is the case. Which
If
in
I
his case
if I,
was really went really well.
if I remember correctly, the person who was on the softs after the last ultras was actually Gate Angelo.
I don't remember it too.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I mean, he had a decent race. I forget where he finished, but it was a good race. Both races from Golden and Platinum were good opening rounds and good attendance as well. 17 for Gold and 19 for Platinum. And both great races, battles all throughout. But I think it'll just continue. But let's move to Japan quickly. Preview for Golden. Actually, let's do Platinum. Who do you see on the podium at Japan?
I mean, race pace wise, it looks. I mean, the tires aren't getting much better. Uh, there's something with Asia and tires. I, I don't know. I think ZX has something up his sleeve. If I'm being honest, but I'm not even sure what the strategy is. It says it's
Yeah.
off track. It's a driver's track, which is slang for you're probably gonna crash.
I have a feeling the podium is gonna be had this, but not in the same order. Breezy, if he's gonna get his qualifying right, and I think he's gonna challenge for the win. To be honest, he's mega fast. He's been the fastest
I was
teammate
gonna say the
I've ever
same
had.
thing.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Breezy, Go To, and then an unknown person in third.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna actually have to go with Breezy as well. I think he had good pace, and I think Japan's a wheel track for sure. Which Sean is on the wheel. He's probably quick at times, but he might make a mistake. That's why I'm going with Breezy if you could get qualifying right. So I'm gonna go with Breezy. Then I'll go with I just had him in mind. What the heck? Who's the other guy?
Sean or
Yeah, let's go.
Rule.
Yeah, I'm forgetting somebody. Let's go with Sean in second, and
Starboy. You're thinking of Starboy.
and then third we'll put Psycho.
Yeah, Psycho had some pace in platinum.
I
He
mean,
just
he
he just screwed
qualified
up
good.
with the first. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
just
Psycho had a
the
fantastic race.
first lap.
I mean, given the circumstances.
But I think it'll be
that's
Breezy, Sean, and Psycho. And the reason why I don't put Destiny on there is just because he's not good at Asian tracks in the past. It's not his forte. So once we get over to Europe and North America, I think he starts to kick up. But I can't put him on there as long as we're in Asia. So I can't do that.
All right.
Fair enough.
Any final thoughts?
Breezy, go to Psycho. That's my final answer. Go to guy. You can cry yourself a river out of. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I think we've covered everything. About 28 minutes in now, probably 30. We've reached our time.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that. And I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So everyone, please tune in this Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube, Trinity Competitive Racing, for the Golden Class at Japan, and then one day later, which would be the Platinum Class, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, on Trinity Competitive Racing YouTube, which that'll also be Japan. So I'm looking forward to next week. And I hope you all are too. Thanks, Tommaso, for doing it with us today. Is Silent, you too. And we'll see you all next week.
Peace out from the
See
litter
ya.
box.